Good morning, everyone. Afternoon, evening, middle of the night, whenever you're watching this. Nope, hated that. We're back with another sewing project, and today we're gonna make a jumpsuit completely from scratch. This is the most comfortable jumpsuit I've ever worn. It has a cute little tie and an elastic waistband in the back, and if you wanna get crazy with it, you can tie it in the front. And we're gonna draft this pattern at home using clothes that we already own, which is my favorite kind of pattern because it's free. And today is extra special because I got a serger. I have been sewing for 5 years without a serger, and it's definitely possible, but having a serger will make everything so much easier and look much more professional. So I'm gonna use this serger as well as my sewing machine to make this jumpsuit, and it's gonna be a great time. So let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna start out by drafting the pattern. Okay, starting with the pants pattern, I'm using this jumpsuit, but you can also use a flowy pair of pants. I'm gonna fold it in half with the back side of the pants facing up, and I'm gonna trace it all around. Then I'm gonna use a curved ruler and make a little curve at the top and a hip curve. And then I'll add 1/2 inch seam allowance to all of the sides. Now I'm folding the pants with the front of the pants facing up. I'm gonna trace it all around, straighten my lines, and add seam allowance. Now I'm cutting a strip of paper 4 inches wide and however long my pants are. I'm gonna make a slit going all the way up the back of my pants, and I'm gonna put that strip of paper there and make sure that it's tapered going all the way down. And this is just gonna give us enough room to be able to put the pants on because we're not putting a zipper on these pants, it'll have elastic instead. Okay, and the last thing we have to do is trace the bodice. So I'm gonna take this little tank top that fits me well, and I'm gonna trace it all around, straighten my lines, make a little curve, straighten, straighten, straighten. Now I'm taking my ruler and marking where my waist is, and I'm drawing a straight line. I promise you that's straight, it just doesn't look straight. Now I'm putting it on my dress form. I'm trying to visualize how much I need to add onto the bodice to get this nice little slanted edge that our jumpsuit has. I'm taking mental notes here. I'm gonna trace my original pattern again. Now taking my ruler, I'm just making a nice slanted edge here on the end. And I already factored seam allowance into these measurements, but be sure to add that if you're following along. Now, the very last thing we have to do is add the dart. So I'm gonna draw my dart line, and this is the slash and spread method for dart making. So when I make a little 1 inch dart here, notice how it bunches up. We don't want that. So I'm gonna cut another line. Now when we spread it, we get this nice overlap right there at the armpit, which is what we want. So I'm gonna tape it down, add a line in the center for my dart, and then trace all around the edges. Okay, I'm gonna pull that pattern off. I'm gonna close this edge with a vertical line and use my curved ruler to make this armpit nice and slanted again. And last but not least, I'm adding a dart leg on the right side. And now we have our beautiful bodice. All right, time to cut this out real quick. I used a little more than 2.5 yards of 46 inch wide fabric. So I'm gonna cut 1 bodice piece on the fold for the bodice, 1 for the bodice lining, 2 pieces for the back of the pants, and 2 pieces for the front of the pants. Now I'm making some neck straps, 3 inches wide and 55 inches long. And we need 4 neck straps total. And the very last thing, I'm measuring out the waistband. So I'm gonna measure the back of my pants, and I'm gonna double that measurement to make the waistband, making sure I've included seam allowance. And I'll do the same exact thing for the front of the pants. Also, I'm gonna try the daunting task of threading this serger all by myself.
Turn the hand wheel, follow the thread path indicated by the red dotted.
Okay.
This is very important because if the lower loop...
I think I did it. The tension's a little off, but we have an overlocked edge. All right, now we can finally start sewing. Okay, starting with the darts, I'm just gonna take my pattern and trace the dart legs exactly as they are on my pattern. And I'll do the same thing for the lining. Then I'm gonna pin my darts and sew them. Okay, time for the neck straps. I'm gonna take my 4 straps and double them up, right sides together, and I'm gonna pin them. So I'm gonna sew down the long sides, and I'm also gonna close off one of the ends. Okay, now that we got the straps done, we need to flip them inside out. So I'm gonna take this little knitting needle. Now I'm just pushing it through. Then you just drop this little needle out. Now we got our straps. Okay, now we need to make these tiny little pieces to connect onto the bodice, and this is what the straps will go through in the back. So I really don't know the best way to do this, so I just cut 2 little fabric pieces, and I'm just gonna like roll it up. This is tiny. All right, I'm gonna fold it down very precisely on both sides, and then I'm gonna fold it in half. And this is me sewing the smallest piece of fabric I've ever seen in my life. Oh, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. And somehow it worked. I don't know how, but it worked. Okay, now we're gonna connect 4 parts of this jumpsuit together with one simple seam. We're gonna connect the bodice lining to the outside of the bodice, to the strap, and we're gonna connect the little doodad that we sewed, all with one seam. So let me show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna lay my strap down on one of my bodice pieces, and I'm laying it down 1/2 inch away from the edge, because that's our seam allowance. I'm gonna put both straps down, and then I'm gonna take these little tiny pieces we just sewed, and I'm also placing that 1/2 inch away from the edge, and pin it down. And then I'm gonna put my other bodice piece on top. I'm pinning it all around, and we're gonna sew up the side, down the armpit, and across the top. And make sure you sandwich all of these pieces in between as you're sewing. All right, the big reveal. Oh my gosh, it worked. The waistband is gonna go right there. That's why we sewed it 1/2 inch away from the edge. Moving on to the pants. All right, I'm gonna lay the back side of my pants down on top of the front side and match them up at the side seam and the inseam. I'll do that for both pant legs. And then we're gonna sew down the side seam and down the inseam. All right guys, the time has finally come. We are gonna put this serger to use. These seams that I just sewed down the side and down the inseam, we're gonna serge. Now, something to know about a serger is there's a blade on it, which number 1, will take your finger off, maybe. I don't know, I'm a little scared of it. Number 2, it will trim the edge of your fabric off as you go. So when I'm serging, I'm gonna make sure that I'm only serging within the seam allowance, that I'm not cutting the seam off that I just sewed. All right, I'm just serging the edge about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. And this was the perfect amount for my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, now we're gonna connect the 2 pant legs. So I'm flipping one of the pant legs right side out and putting it inside the inside out pant leg. And I'm gonna match them up along the center seam. And I'm just gonna sew all around. And now we have pants. Look at that. Okay, now I'm gonna serge that seam that I just sewed. Okay, and the last thing for the pants, we're just gonna hem the bottom. So a really easy way to hem with a serger is you just serge the edge just like normal, then fold the inside of the pants up by about 1/2 inch, and then do a little top stitch all the way around. Okay, now we just have to attach the waistband and then put the elastic in, and then we're done. Okay, so I have my 2 smaller waistbands and my 2 longer waistbands. So I'm putting the smaller waistband on top of the longer waistband, and I'm matching them up at the sides. And these are right sides together. I'm gonna sew them along the sides, press them open. Okay, this part might look a little complicated, but I'm gonna put the waistband around the bodice, right sides together, matching them up at the center. And then I'm taking the waistband lining and I'm gonna put that on the inside. So the bodice should be sandwiched between the waistband and the waistband lining. And I'm just pinning it all around, and then I'll sew along the bottom. Now, when we unfold it, we should have this beautiful waistband, and it should look something like this. This part might be the most complicated of all, but I'm gonna put the bodice around the pants, right sides together, and I'm gonna fold the waistband lining up away from the waistband, and I'm gonna pin that waistband to the pants all the way around. I'm gonna sew all around that pinned edge. So then when we fold the bodice up, it should all be connected nice and beautifully. So when we flip it around to the back, we're gonna fold this waistband down and fold it under by 1/2 inch and just top stitch it down. So I'm just pinning the waistband to the pants, and I'm starting right where that side seam is and ending where the other side seam is. So I'm gonna top stitch all along the back side of the pants. We are on our very last step. Now we just have to put this elastic in the back of the pants. Okay, since we left the front side of the pants open, we're gonna use this to put the elastic through. So I have my elastic on a little safety pin and I'm feeding it through. By the way, this elastic is my waist measurement divided by 2. Okay, so I'm gonna pull both sides of the elastic out and I'm making sure that it's sticking out past the side seam of the pants by about 1/2 inch. And this will make sense in just a minute. So I'm just pinning it down. Now we're gonna fold the front waistband lining down just like we did before and top stitch this down. But as we're top stitching this, we wanna make sure that we're also grabbing the elastic so that it will stay in place. So I'm gonna sew a little seam going down here, making sure to catch the elastic right at the side seam. And then I'll pivot my fabric and go all the way down, all the way across, and then back up the other side seam. And it should look something like this. Guys, this is without a doubt my favorite thing I've ever made. My favorite thing. This jumpsuit is so comfortable, it's so cute. You can tie it in the back, you can tie it in the front. For all of you indecisive people out there like me, this jumpsuit is perfect for you. And it was so easy to make. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching. Give it a little thumbs up if you liked it. Also, if you make this at home, which you should, DM me on Instagram and send me a photo. I would love to see it. And very exciting, most exciting of all, if you are looking for a sewing machine, a serger, any kind of sewing supplies, an iron, a dress form, look no further because I got a promo code. What? I have a promo code. Go on to singer.com, check out their website. They have my absolute favorite sewing supplies in the world, and that ain't a lie. You can get 15% off their entire website, so go check it out. But hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you're at, and I'll see you next time. I'm gonna stop the finger guns, I'm sorry. It's a phase. Bye! I'm not gonna stop, it's not a phase.